Chronic pain. So many people deal with it on a daily basis, and it seems that the medical system is kind of clueless about it. I mean, let's just drug it, right? Well, my guest today, Alex Crowther, was a highly successful executive until chronic pain ended his career, when he lost everything and almost lost his life. And he has reemerged by creating the Pain Coach Academy. If you or your loved ones suffer from chronic pain, share today's show with them. It's going to be great. I cannot wait to introduce you to Alex Crowther. But first, well, good, beautiful day, you beautiful, beautiful souls. This is Charla Anderson, host of the Charla Anderson Show, collector and connector of fascinating people. And everyone is fascinating, especially you. But first, we're going to take our 22-second mini vacation, a little be still and know. We're going to breathe in calm for 7 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, and breathe out gratitude for 11 seconds. So please join me and breathe in some calm. Don't we need it, right? Breathe in some calm. Here we go. Hold. Relax, release. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, well, Alex, I'm so happy that you are here. And I think that it's most of the people that I know I've met in some group or something, I was just inspired like crazy because I received this email and I didn't even pay attention to it got slipped through the cracks. But this email that just was like, I listened to your show. I listened to Bethany Stone. I might as well shout her out, her show. And you just like, I am a fan. I'm like, whoa, somebody's actually listening. You don't ever know sometimes, right? So I am so grateful you did that. And then I'm like, hey, let's do this. And you found it. You found it. Yeah.
So I'm glad to be here. You said a lot of people deal with chronic pain. I think the number's 52 million people in the U.S. live with what's described as chronic pain. And I'm just trying to remember the exact number, but I believe the number is something like 10 million of the 50 live with like severely life impacting chronic pain, meaning they need someone to help them take a shower and stuff like that. So it's a big deal. And the number of people is growing. So yeah, it's a lot of people.
Wow. So the Pain Coach Academy is where you are now, but it was a long journey to get there because that wasn't where you start. That wasn't your lifestyle. Your lifestyle was a world traveler. You figured we probably crossed each other's paths on airplanes back in the day when I was a flight attendant. So it's really a miracle that you're alive. And
it is. So I worked in advertising for about 35 years. I worked very hard. I did all the things that, you grow up and you get told work hard and, all the stuff. And I did all this stuff and I was very ambitious and look, I found some success. And so, life was good. And I had, I had everything that I suppose I had wanted. And then I was driving along. It was my birthday of 2012. And I was driving along and the road that I happened to be on had a highway exit that sort of like entered it. And some person came off the highway, didn't know there was a set of traffic lights there, was going about 50 to 55 miles an hour and T-boned me, flipped my car up into the air, rolled me a few times, and I landed sort of up against a utility pole. and the EMS were actually called to a fatality because I was out cold, laying upside down in my car, and fortunately, I wasn't dead. I was pulled out of the car, and the only thing that really was wrong was both of my thumb joints, because the way I was holding the steering wheel, both of my thumb joints had gone all the way back and were popped out of their sockets. So that my hands looked kind of weird, and they'd already swollen right up. My hands looked weird. I went to the hospital. They popped my thumbs back in the sockets, which was not a fun experience. But again, I was super grateful to be alive. My car looked like just a ball of metal. It was weird. It looked bizarre. They told me that I would need to see a hand surgeon, and I would probably need surgery on both of my hands, which was in fact the case. So hand surgeon said, we'll start with your left hand because I'm right-handed. I was living on my own at the time. And I'm like, how am I going to do this one-handed thing? Living on my own, doing my tie up and doing my shirt up and whatever. So anyway, we did my left hand, and within just a couple of days, my hand swelled up so much that the cast didn't fit me anymore. It was weird, shouldn't have happened. Then my pins in my hand got an infection. I got a staph infection. Don't know how that happened. Then the wound itself wouldn't close. Everything that could have gone wrong seemingly went wrong. And I was back at that doctor over the course of a few months. I was like back at, at least every week, if not twice a week. And they were sick to death of seeing me. I was sick to death of seeing them. And I kept complaining that this pain level is just like abnormally high, that it hurt worse than it did when I actually had the injury. And it got to a point about 3 or 4 months in that he's like, this isn't right. I don't want to do your other hand at this point. We're better off leaving it. I didn't want him touching it. He sent me to go and see another hand surgeon for another opinion. They looked at the X-ray, they looked at the images, and they're like, everything's fine, but my pain is crazy. And then the conversation was, well, we think you should go and see another type of doctor. I'd seen every kind of doctor over the time. So go see a rheumatologist, go see a XYZ.
Any ologist, all the ologists.
I saw all of the ologies, and every doctor would give me a different test, and I got told all sorts of terrible things that I might have. Maybe it's this life-threatening disease, or maybe it's that life-threatening disease. So you get terrified along the way, and then you'll end up seeing, you might see I was seeing a pain specialist at that point who was like, try this. This is definitely going to help. Well, you do the definitely going to help, and it doesn't help. And so over time, and I'm a pretty hopeful person, but my hope got so eroded because when you're constantly told, something's gonna happen, and that doesn't happen, or you see another doctor and they'll convince you that you're literally a lunatic and there's nothing wrong with you, when I know it's real. My pain is real all the time. By the way, I'm still working. I'm faking my pain at work, pretending that there's nothing wrong, because the business that I was in is a younger person's business. And I'm in the most senior sort of ranks, and I can't let I can't be sick. I can't be old. I can't be, I just can't be unwell. And so what would happen is, for the longest time, I would go to work and pretend everything's okay, and I would come home literally exhausted from sort of pretending that the pain isn't there. And
so I can ask you, was the pain you're feeling only in your hand, or was it?
Yeah. So initially it was in my left hand over the course of time. So I spent 10 years trying to figure this out. Okay. So I went from my left hand, and then after about 18 months, my right hand, it started in exactly the way that I remember my left hand hurting. And I'm like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, no, it can't be. It can't be. And so, yeah, sure enough, then it was my right shoulder that started to hurt. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I it's just the way I like the sense of how it would build was a familiar sense. And so then it's my left shoulder, then it's my right, then it's my right, then it's my left shoulder. Then it was one of my feet, then it was the other foot, then it was a hip, then it was my stomach, where my
But
stomach.
they're still telling you it's all in your head.
They're still telling me there's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with me, and I was terrified because I'm like, what if this is something like I know that I'm not crazy. Like I have a brain. I know I'm not crazy. I know this is real. I'll give you an example. Like so now I know that I have this thing called gastroparesis as part of this overall illness where my stomach doesn't empty sometimes. And I knew, for example, like I wasn't imagining that. I would eat, and 12 hours later, I would feel exactly like I had just eaten my food. And if I happened to, excuse my graphic nature, but if I was to throw up, everything was still there, sort of basically undigested. And so I'm like, I know that ain't working. Okay. So I knew at one point, eventually, I knew that I wasn't crazy. And then the miracle that happened for me is a colleague of mine lived next door to a hospital network CEO, and they were having party or something. And I think I, by coincidence, mentioned to that colleague, something was going on. I broke my rule of not talking about things, and he asked his CEO if there was anybody he could refer me to, and instantly his assistant called me and connected me with the head of their pain clinic, their pain science clinic, whatever it is. This is a big hospital group, and I was whisked in there, and I got met by 3 doctors. I was given the full VIP treatment, which kind of pissed me off, excuse my French, because I had paid thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars seeing all of the ologists and all of the everythings, being told how crazy I was. And I then get the VIP special treatment, and we all know how much we pay for medical insurance. And I then get told that they'd gone away, they'd conferred, they came back, they all agreed 100% with each other that I had this illness called complex regional pain syndrome, which affects multiple systems in the body. It's described as the most painful disease known to medicine. It also has a disgusting nickname, the suicide disease. I don't say that very often, but I say it in case anybody that is listening who has this, I want to give them the acknowledgement, because it has that name because so many people that have it do it. They follow through because, one of the things that I was taught, so that afternoon when I was given that diagnosis, I felt this instant sense of relief of, I've finally been validated. There is this disease. It's not me being a crazy person. But alongside that, very quickly, one of the less senior doctors said to me, yeah, and there's really nothing we can do. It'll probably get worse. And I'm like, oh my God, like just take me out and shoot me now, because like I had lost, I would come home, I would do nothing. I never wanted to go out. I didn't want to go for dinner anymore. I didn't want to do anything. The hobbies that I had, I used to like cooking. I would ride my bike everywhere. And all these things that fundamentally made me were falling to the side. And then add to this, and I won't dwell on this, but once I got this diagnosis, I was, I made some inquiries about, programs and trials and everything else, and I got admitted into one of the well-known, world-renowned clinics, and for a trial that they were doing. And I said to somebody that I was working with at the time, I'm like, got to confess, I got this going on, but I've been invited to this trial. 22 hours, Charla, I got the pink slip basically saying that I had, I'm like the number 2 guy in the business, and I'm given the note saying that we've agreed to separate. I ain't agreed to anything. I was copied on a memo that the whole company got, and basically it was positioned. I mean, I know what they did. They were afraid that the most expensive person on the payroll at the time was going to go out and maybe never come back and, be claiming salary for a long time and everything else. The reality is that I was going to be gone for a week or two, and I would have worked and done my thing. So then, not only do I have this diagnosis, I then get the gut punch of, okay, then my job has been taken away. Yeah. And, at that point, my entire identity is sort of like shattered. I'm like, my career, stupidly, was my identity, and then the few hobbies that I had were, the other parts of my identity. I'd let my friend network sort of fall away because I didn't want to do anything. Eventually, when your friends ask you to come and do something enough and you say, no, I don't feel like it, they eventually stop asking. And so I found myself, the chair behind me, I leave it there on purpose because that's where I sat. I sat there for hours and hours and hours, feeling sorry for myself, in pain, crying, wondering what the hell I was going to do. I would never sleep more than about 40 minutes at a time. And so to tell, where I got to in that chair, I decided one day, middle of the night, I'm like, I can't do this. If this is all it's going to be, if this is going to be the best of it, then, I've had a good run. And if it's going to get worse, then and I'm feeling like this massive burden, by the way. My wife was having to work harder than ever. I felt like she was always running around, picking stuff up for me and, making sure I had clean clothes, like a good partner does. But I did feel like this massive burden. And I'm like, I don't want to be that. And my brain, by the way, is still the brain that I had before this illness, and it's whirling and it wants to be active. It doesn't want to be sat in a chair in a blanket. So I sort of said to myself, all right, I don't want to be here, but I also don't want to leave this wake of destruction behind me. I got grown-up kids, and I've got a wife and everything else. I don't want to leave destruction. I want to make sure things are done, taken care of properly. And so I thought, if I can find a counselor, a therapist who also understands pain, and I can have a conversation with them, because my brain is like foggy. It's hard to think through this pain sometimes, right? Like if I can have someone I can talk to, I can sort of just work my way through this a little bit and make a bit of a plan. And that was my thinking. And some of it sounds very illogical because I wasn't thinking very logically. So at 6:40 in the morning, I remember sitting at my desk here, and I got on the Google and I typed in pain counselor, just like I said I was going to. And the weirdest, strangest, most divine, crazy, bizarre thing happened and I'd done a ton of reading. I'd done a ton of research. I did all the work. And these 2 words popped off the screen. It's like they levitated off the screen in front of me. And it was all I could see. And it was pain coach. And I'm like, what is this pain coach thing? Why have I never heard of these two words, pain and coach, together? Two very simple words strung together, and I never heard of this. And I'd seen hundreds of doctors. I've read loads of books. I basically have a PhD in pain science at this point myself. Yet I'd never seen these two words. So I clicked on the link. It took me to a company, a business, and again, 6:40 in the morning, I ring it thinking I'm just going to leave a message and get someone to call me back. And yet this lady, Jenny, answered the phone, and I burst into tears because I don't really know why, except I don't think I was expecting anyone to answer. I was expecting to hear the message and the beep, and I was going to say, I'd like to understand about this pain thing that you do. And instead I just lost it. And she said, it sounds like you probably want to understand what pain coaching is. I can hear the pain in your voice. And so she explained it. She gave me about 10 minutes of what this thing, pain coaching, is. And, she explained that a pain coach is really an ally that's on this journey, like any coach, a tennis coach, same thing. It's somebody on a journey with you, helping you navigate, teaching you, guiding you, making decisions with you, et cetera, et cetera. So she explained kind of the process, and I got booked. I met my pain coach the very next day. I'm like, I'll try it. It was given to me, and it seemed really quite weirdly divine the way it kind of spoke to me. So I spoke to my coach the very next day. Jareen is her name, and she was, oh my gosh, she's a beautiful friend today. I still work with her. And the very first time I met Jareen, she said, just tell me what's going on. Just talk to me. Just tell me about what you're dealing with. And so for about 58 minutes of a 1 hour meeting, I just told her. And a bit like you looking at me, she's nodding and she's frowning and she's giving these facial expressions that speak to you. And I see her writing things down. And anyway, that happened. And I got off the call and I'm like, it occurred to me that this was the first time in 10 years, other than my partner, who's got this weird obligation as a partner to listen to you and know your story. But this was the first time that someone actively cared enough to listen to what's going on. It wasn't the 3 minutes in the doctor's office where they, ask you one single question and you give them the answer, they know the solution. This was a long, deep conversation where I sort of explained everything, and I knew from the facial expressions and just the general behavior that I was being seen and heard and validated and cared for. And that made an enormous difference. I get goosebumps every time I say that because it was so impactful. Then I met with her literally just a couple of days later, and she said something that turned out to be very profound, which was, do you know what pain is? Do you know how pain works? And I'm like, well, yeah, of course I know what pain works. I know what pain is.
It hurts.
She's like, do you really understand how it works in the body? And she then gave me, again, she took the whole time up and gave me what is now, it's called Pain Neuroscience Education, PNE. And it's basically just explaining how pain is manufactured and operates in the body. Now, there's a really good reason she did that. And that's because science knows that when somebody basically understands how pain works in their body, the experience of pain is automatically softened because we stop catastrophizing about it. We stop wondering about it to the degree, is it going to make you pain-free? Absolutely no. But it might knock it down at one point, okay? So the very act of learning about pain when you have pain will soften the pain experience a little bit. So yeah, that was great. Then every single meeting I sort of had after after with her, we would do something that sort of chipped away like that at the pain experience. So it might be just as we did at the beginning of this call, we did a breathing exercise. So it might be that she says, and she sees me get on the phone and on the Zoom, and she might say, "Looks like you're having a tough day. You're having a tough day. Talk to me about it." Da 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 da. So I get it off my chest, and she's like, "Let's try doing some breathing." So she teaches me breathing, or any number of other things, right? So over the course of probably about 6 months, I then learned these micro skills, if you like, that you then start to stack on top of each other. Whether it's grounding yourself, whether it's learning to meditate, which I did, whether it's doing breathing exercises, whether it's learning more science, etc., etc. Learning to advocate for yourself when you're at a doctor's appointment, whether it's instead of going into a doctor's appointment and basically re-traumatizing yourself every time you go into an appointment by explaining everything that's wrong, we have it written down now. So I hand it to the doctor, or I send it before my appointment, so that when the doctor meets with me, I don't have to go through it all and retell the story, right? So that's the purpose of having this coach, this guide, this person holding your hand and walking the journey with you. That's the power of that. Then something really curious happened, and I realize I'm talking a lot, and you shut me up when you're ready. But
it's fascinating, and I think it's very valuable to have the process, because 10 years is a really long time.
It is a long time, and a lot of stuff happened. But the one thing that then Jareen did at one point is I've got stacks of these sort of like big fat journals, right? And they're like 400 pages, and she knew that I was always writing in them. And she's like, "Can you get your hand on the one from the first day that we met?" Genius move. I pull it out, and she's like, let's go to the first couple of appointments. And she's like, "Just start reading." And I'm reading out loud, effing this and effing pain and all these really sharp, pointy words talking about my pain experience. And I'm like, oh, wow. Read some more, and it's like, oh my goodness. My relationship with pain was pretty brutal, and the way I would talk about myself, the negative self-talk, just generally, and what we then talked about was really, because my experience was so incremental. It's a bit like seeing your hair grow or your fingernails grow. You don't really notice it until your hair is too long, your fingernails are really long. I didn't notice how far I had come and how much I had, been able to take control. I was not pain-free. I'm not pain-free at all, but I know how to manage pain. I know the things that I can do to soften pain to a degree that I can live with it, live alongside it. And so that was a really interesting thing for me to see kind of how far I'd come. That led me to say to her, "Jareen, I'm really I'm now out of work. I'm on this journey, and I'm feeling a little bit better." And I'm like, I want to understand this pain coaching thing that you do. So I asked her a bunch of questions, and I said, "Who trains these people?" So she explains, he makes an introduction. I talked to the people that train people to become pain coaches, and just had a super long, maybe a couple hour conversation with one of the guys there. And, he inquired about my career and what I've been doing. And I inquired about their business and organization. And, I found it stimulating because I was having a conversation about business that I'd not had in a while. And so I think I basically said, "Hey, look, can I help you with something? Can I just do something like websites or whatever it might have been?" I'm like, "Let me help you." So I got in, I helped them with a few things, and over the course of a little bit of time, sure enough, I'm adding value, we're growing the business a little bit, and they're like, "Hey, we want to do the coaching stuff, we want to do the teaching stuff. Will you come in? Will you run the business? We want you to be our CEO." And I'm like, well, this is awesome. But I noticed something else. I noticed that when I was doing the work that was in servitude to other people. So when I was helping someone, if I was, whether it's taking a phone call from someone that's living with pain, or maybe I'm writing a little blog or whatever it is, I found that when I'm writing or talking about pain, like I am with you right now, my pain experience like vaporizes. It falls away. And there is a little bit of science to that, but there's also a little bit of woo-woo magic to that, which is I believe that part of this is a gift that was given. I believe that the pain that was given to me in such a way that I go and I help and I try and drive this as a little bit of a mission, like we're talking now. And look, if this conversation helps one person, if I only ever help one person, it's all worthwhile. And so that, I believe, is sort of like why it was given to me. I have the experience and the tools to be able to have conversations like this, or to write the things that I get to write, or to create the courses that we create, and this, that, and the other. And so, yeah, I mean, I've decided that this is my mission. There are too many people. There's 50 million people in this country suffering with pain. And I use the word suffering on purpose. So many of them are suffering unnecessarily. And, you go to the doctor's office, the white coats know one thing, and that's to prescribe an opioid or something else. And look, in some cases, hey, that'll work. But normally it's a medicine or it's a procedure. It's a device, a medicine, or a procedure. That's what gets served up. We're not being taught how to regulate our nervous systems. We're not being told any number of these things. And the thing is, the science has leapt beyond the medical system. That the science knows more about how to manage chronic pain now than the doctor's office does. And we need to regulate, again, you started with a breathing exercise, grounding ourselves, meditating. And I don't say this to frustrate anybody. I'm sure that someone listening has an experience with pain. But these things, if we can do them, will help the process of pain. They just absolutely will.
So I had recently, and I'll just toss this out because it came to me while you're talking, we get more of what we focus on, right? Completely. Whatever we're focused on, and that is scientifically 100%. Proven without a doubt. There is no woo-woo there.
Nope.
And so when I'm going to mention this in the framework of depression, so to speak. Yep. So I believe what you had discovered along the way is, so many of these things, you're focused on the pain, it's inward thinking. It's so focused on, your pain of depression, whatever is inward thinking, and taking one tiny, even if it's just this tiny step of like feeding a stray cat or doing something outside of yourself as service. Yep. It's miraculous. It's miraculous what it can do. And it's not diminishing or demeaning what's wrong. It's offering an opportunity to consider what's right or what else is out there outside of your circumstance. And like you described, it's almost like, all of a sudden I'm so involved in making a difference for something or someone else that this kind of diminishes, and it is phenomenal and it works. Now, those are simplified terms in a way, but or maybe not. No. I do believe, you can do something different for someone else, and it will relieve the hurt or pain in that moment.
There are many, 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 many studies that prove, that demonstrate that servitude, whether it's working in a soup kitchen or, like you said, it's helping the stray cat, or in my case, it's answering a call with somebody that's living with complicated pain.
They just need somebody to hear. That's what you said too.
Absolutely.
Somebody, please.
Yeah.
And this is a core need. We all just want to be heard. We all just want to be heard. And I'll say it this way, and I've said it many times. I want to be heard for what I'm saying, and sometimes for what I'm not able to say. And so listening involves a deeper than listening than just words, right? So
absolutely. Yeah. So I've kind of gone kind of a little bit out of my way. I figured pain coaching is not, it's not been very well established. It's a young thing. And so I'm making a bit of a noise wherever I can about pain coaching. If somebody's living with complicated pain, hit me up. I will help them figure out how to get hold of someone that I'm working on building a directory of coaches so that folks have a very easy resource. But I want to help anybody that I can, because this will soften the experience. I'm not saying for 1 second, do not go to the doctor. I'm not saying don't take a pill. If a medical professional is telling you to take a pill, take a pill. But there is hope. There are things that you can do. And having somebody that most pain coaches have a lived experience of pain themselves, by the way, which happens to make them a good coach. They've lived it. They've worked their way through it. Having somebody that can walk that journey with you is going to be invaluable. The tools and the tricks and the tips and everything else are going to be invaluable. And then the other thing that I did as part of my own healing, but because I couldn't find something myself, and this isn't like some big unashamed kind of plug, I did write this book, Reframing Pain. And, I'm not an author. I'm not a professional writer. I mean, hopefully I can string a sentence together so it makes sense for people. I think it does. But
reframing pain, understanding pain in everyday terms, and working, and you're offering it for free to the audience
100%,
here, right?
Yeah.
And so let's stop right here and just get your information in here before it's we get to the end. So
so I wanted to make it really, really easy. So I've got a URL, reframingpain.com. Super simple. Go there. You can grab the book. You can also, if you fill out the contact form, if you're a medical professional wanting to know about pain coaching, I'll help you. If you're a person living with complicated pain or know someone, I'll help you. If you're interested in becoming a pain coach, I will help you become a pain coach, okay? If you want a rewarding career, imagine this. Anybody can do this. Anybody can learn to become a pain coach, and you get to, you'll spend... the basic coaching is about 18 weeks, meet a couple of times a week, some really good, some pretty deep education. And you then are able to work with clients. And just like me, in a course of 6 months or so, you can dynamically, you get to change lives. I mean, like, holy crap. Like, it doesn't get more cool than that, in my opinion. Like literally, you want to make a difference in the world. There's a way of making a difference. There's lots of ways of making a difference, but this is one. So if somebody wants to come to the contact form at Reframing Pain, it is my life's mission at this point to help connect people in the right direction. The book that I put together, it's sort of like a book in 3 parts. The first part is when I talked about pain neuroscience education that helps soften the pain. The first third of the book, I sort of explain what the heck is going on in your brain and your body. So what is pain? How does it work? So I explain a little bit of that. The second third of the book is some of these skills, these basic skills of things that you can do that you can stack together that maybe work for you, don't work for me, maybe work for someone else, don't work for you, but there's a number of skills in there. So I've probably got 15 different breathing exercises, along with, a plethora of other things you can do. The last third of the book is sort of more resource focused, where I know so I have something, for example, like a trigger response plan. Now I know that there are things that will trigger my pain. So in the case of the illness I have, my senses are hypersensitive. So a strong smelling candle can give me a pain flare. Weird, I know, but it will happen. Um, Bless my mother-in-law, but little yapping dogs make me insane, and they will trigger a pain flare. Big dogs, they don't do it. Little dogs, I don't know why.
Well, recognizing that is huge. I mean, I believe that you're acknowledging being heard, and then recognizing these triggers is a huge piece of it. So reframingpain.com, they can get this free ebook. You said you're updating it regularly, and it's a resource for anyone with pain. And I'm going to, if I just may, my former husband, a force recon Purple Heart Marine, Vietnam vet, he never called in sick in 37 years of working for Delta Airlines. An amazing human being. I called him a grumpy old man, but a good guy, right? So to his face. So never took a step without pain. I mean, but he had that I'm loyal and I'm going to put mindset of punching through it. And I don't know. He's had knee replacements and things. I think he may be doing better now. I'm sure he is. But, you live through all those experiences and pain. You're talking about physical chronic pain.
Yep.
And this just came to me. Does some of this kind of work for, we've got a lot of emotional pain and other pain as well, or is it primarily what you're talking about is chronic pain in the body?
It is chronic pain and it is physical, but what has become really clear to me, Charla, recently is what we are dealing with chronic pain actually does apply to other forms of pain too. And it actually applies a lot with chronic illness quite generally. Most chronic illness comes with a degree of pain. But again, if we can regulate our nervous systems and everything else, that is actually going to help soften the experience and da-da-da-da-da. So there's a lot of benefit in us learning as a species how to regulate ourselves. I'm actually building a consumer course as well that I'm going to start putting out to the market on how we regulate our central nervous systems. And I'm going to do that because, and I'll be really quick, the reason I'm doing it is, our biology as human, Homo sapiens sapien hasn't changed for, 50,000, between 50 and 200,000 years. The biology hasn't really changed very much. However, in the last 100 years, we've gone from the Industrial Revolution to the Technological Revolution to the second technological revolution to now we're entering this AI revolution where we take our work home with us, where we're always connected and everything else. The way we don't rest like we used to rest. We don't like, we used to be chased by tigers and this, that, and the other. And right. So we would go into this fight and flight mode and then we would sleep for 2 days and recover. And we don't do this anymore. And so
it's a constant noise, the constant stress, the constant ding on the phone. And even if you just click your eyes over there, it's a distraction. And I think that if you're finding ways to manage that, I had a picture and then I had a picture of something when I was reading about your stuff and thinking about you going through that for a decade or so, which is horrific. I can't even imagine, but that I feel like you had a pain that was like you're in a crater of the volcano, right? You're in this crater of this volcano and the fire is coming up through your body and you've got all this pain, but you're still, things are crumbling around you. And that's the picture I got of your life during those many years of not knowing. And another little piece, I was thinking your colleagues and all those people, I'm assuming that all of a sudden you're not all that, and that, you just kind of got those people had nothing to do with you anymore because you're not that person anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. So that
and those are psychological things to deal with as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the difference, and one more thing, I just want to add it while I paused you for a second here because it's so fascinating to me. But I've said before, there's a difference between therapy and coaches. I believe a therapist has you going over what's wrong and what happened, and you never, and they, it takes a lot to get from that point to what's possible, from focusing on what's wrong to focusing on possibilities that a coach is able to shift your mind along that way. So everyone should have a coach.
That's the right. So we use the language. We go from what's wrong with me at the doctor's office and the therapist's office to what's right with me.
And that's all they're focused on. And that white coat syndrome, I did a rant about that white coat syndrome a while back.
Yeah. So we do use those words. We're going to talk about what's right with us. Okay. Once we figured out what's wrong, now we can talk about what's right. So it's kind of cool. I'm glad you said that. Thank you. So
it's a huge distinction from focusing on what's wrong and living there. Yes, they did that. Yes, they did that. Yes, that happened. Yes, I was abused or whatever it was. But do you want to stay there? And that's, to me, the difference between having an advocate and a coach that walks alongside you, which is the way you describe that, which is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's really it. I mean, I do believe that there's hope for all of us, and I can tell. You give me two people, and one of them has a glimmer of hope of being healed, and the other one is dead fast set that they're not going to get better. And one of those people will get better, Charla. So we can all make a difference. We can all get a little bit better.
Yeah, and you get what you literally, we talked about that in the very beginning. You get what you focus on, right? So, we've only got a couple of minutes left. So I would really like for you to wind it up. What's most impactful? What do you want to leave people with? And I was looking for your quote. I have.
I always say, this became my own mantra actually when I was doing meditation and stuff, which is purpose is more powerful than pain. And if you can find purpose, if you can find a reason to keep living, which there's a lot of reason to keep living, having that purpose is always going to be more powerful and change our focus than the pain. And I always try to remind folks that they're not broken. It's not a big failure or anything else. Pain is information. It is literally information. Okay. So it is information telling, it's your body telling your brain that there is something wrong. One of the things I very often do, by the way, if I'm feeling really terrible pain in a particular part of my body, is I will say, "Hey, body, brain, thank you for letting me know my foot is hurting. I'm in the house. It's nice and warm. My leg is up. I'm safe." If you let yourself know you're safe, your brain goes, "Oh, we're safe. Thanks for letting me know. We're safe. We're good. We can stop sending those signals now." The other thing that's
an acknowledgement of, and oh my gosh, it works. It's so amazing.
Yeah. No, it's bizarre. It's crazy. The brain is so incredibly powerful and stupid at the same time.
Well, and gratitude. Let me just say this: gratitude is another piece of what I was talking about before. If you can find something to be thankful for. And I remember telling someone, I was like, they couldn't think of anything to be thankful for. And I was like, aren't you glad you have toenails? Gratitude has to go along with that. And I think what you just said, thank you for letting me know, that's gratitude. It's acknowledgement. It's giving a release to your cells in your body to do something else.
Yeah. And then the only other thing I add to the whole kind of purpose is more powerful than pain is, apart from the pain being an output maybe from a diagnosis of some sort, but I always try to think about what is it guiding me towards? What is my pain guiding me towards? And I know I'm going to say something pretty simplistic, ultimately my pain is guiding me towards servitude, because I know that when I am in a really bad pain place, and maybe I don't want to get out of bed or I don't want to get out of the house, but I know that if I go and do something, if I help that person that's really struggling with pain right now, I have a conversation. I just had a conversation with somebody who was looking at amputating a limb with the same disease that I have. That would make, and that is the protocol that the doctor's talking to them about. And I'm having a conversation with this person about, like, let's try and do some of these other things and try to guide them in the right way without telling them what to do. Getting them out to do some of these things, that is the message. That's the message that my body, that's what I like to, I'm like, my pain is guiding me to go do this.
It's your purpose, obviously, and you had to go through. I mean, didn't you say? I think in the show, you're grateful for the experience because it brought you to your purpose, and so many things.
I've met so many incredible people, and the experiences, the work that I would never have guessed I'd be doing this. I was kind of a jerk before.
Well, you were in a superficial world of commerce, so to speak, instead of this hugely impactful world of service. And I think that defines the difference, right? That defines on who you are.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
I'm so grateful for you today, and I'm excited to see where this goes. I don't know, where in here.
We'll see.
I mean, lots of great things are going on in our world. I'm outrageously optimistic. That's who I am. That's my mindset, right? And outrageously optimistic. And I'm very grateful that I don't have to suffer through those things that you've had to suffer through. Thank you, thank you, thank you, because I live in gratitude. But around all that, thank you. I'm grateful. Yeah. So you, reframingpain.com, get your free downloadable book, and get in touch with Alex Crowther, and that's CalexCrowther. And I most people listen instead of watch, so I like to spell things, so
look, I'm there. Anybody, if somebody's having a terrible time with pain, I will make myself available to help anybody.
And mention the Charla Anderson Show or Charla in the subject line of anything that you send, and he can relate it back to this conversation, and we're gonna find the win-win here. That's what I like to do.
Yep. Fantastic. Well, look, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
It's been amazing, and I can't believe how fast time goes. How did we already get to the first week of 2026? I mean, I blinked. 2025 was over. I was like, whoa, time is going fast. So let's take care of each other. Let's love each other, and remember to always, always, always choose joy.